Okay, well, you've been in this a little bit with both your first grader and your third grader.
Right.
In your opinion, just as a parent, is the IB experience good for all children who might attend Hubbell Elementary School?
You know, I can't speak for all children, but what I can speak to is I have two children, the third grader and the first grader, and they are completely different learners. There's a learner profile that International Baccalaureate has that has concepts like risk taker and open-mindedness and inquirer. My son Seth he's an inquirer. He's very knowledgeable. He has a lot of questions about everything, and he's also very reflective. And so when he wants to learn something about something, he asks a lot of questions up front. He wants to do a lot of research, and then he kind of thinks back on how that reflects to him. Whereas my daughter is really about balance. She's caring, she's very open-minded, but she's also kind of a risk taker. So for her, she would jump out and learn a different concept. So they kind of have those different inquirer skills. The learner profile, as International Baccalaureate refers to it, and they both can approach the subject a different way.
Okay.
But they get to the same answers, the same concepts that way as well. So I think it does apply to a lot of different children and a lot of different, maybe different approaches to learning for each
So what
child.
would you say to the person who is unclear about what IB is and wondering if the average student would adapt well in this environment?
I would say that it kind of embraces the questions and asks, and so for a child that that might be struggling with one subject, there would be a lot of different avenues for which they could learn. They could learn as an inquirer, they could ask questions, they could learn through being a risk taker and doing experiments, more hands-on information. For a child that is kind of reflective and has to think about that and wants to write that at their own time, maybe write back and think about that later, it also kind of responds to them. And I see kind of more of a broad approach. When I think of learning the way that I grew up in school, was we had to memorize a certain set of questions and answers, and we had to put that back into the test format. For my son and daughter, my son, who doesn't enjoy writing, he doesn't enjoy you know, expressing his information back onto a test, he did a PowerPoint presentation for his classroom on a concept that he had learned about that had to do with the motion and balance. And so for him, that was great, whereas my daughter loves to draw pictures, and so she did more of a written presentation when she was learning about that concept. So it kind of approaches it. My thought is it's more transferable to many different learning styles.
Okay, so it sounds like there's some flexibility in the IB approach dependent upon what the strengths of the students are?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, well, I honestly believe that the proof is going to be in the pudding, and how many students go from Hubbell Elementary up to a middle school or a high school experience in IB, because what we learned from David Johns before is that it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion that a student who goes to an International Baccalaureate Elementary would necessarily have to go to an International Baccalaureate middle and high school. So do you believe that, I mean, your children are going to go where you tell them to go to school, I think. I mean, most parents would say, I'm going to tell my student to go to this school. But do you believe as a parent at the end of that elementary experience that you'll probably end up choosing an IB school for them at the middle and high school levels?
When International Baccalaureate was offered to Hubbell Elementary School, my wife and I both did a lot of research on our own, looking at it from different concepts. There's a lot of information out there on the website. We went to every parent meeting Hubbell offered, and we're pretty invested into that curriculum. We enjoy it. We think that it's transferred both into what they're doing at school, but also into our daily life at home. The kids are asking questions at home at a different level, and so I would absolutely think that we would follow that.
Well, we heard before that Hubbell Elementary has a fairly prolific website, so people who want more information can go there and go to the Des Moines Public website. Yep,
absolutely. There's actually a section there for International Baccalaureate, and there's a question and answer section there that parents actually put together. A group of parents, about 10 parents, came together. They researched and asked a bunch of different questions that kept coming up in parent meetings, but also out there on the website, and they put together answers the best that they could. So it wasn't really maybe presented by Des Moines Public School, it wasn't presented by the principal in schools, it was parents kind of asking questions and finding answers, and so that's available, but there's also a lot of other additional information. The curriculum's right there for everyone to see and to review.
Okay, well, I appreciate your coming in. That's about all the time we have today. Thank you for joining me.
Yes, thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of Classroom Connections. Don't forget that this and all other Classroom Connection episodes are available on our website. For Classroom Connections, I'm Leigh McGivern. Thanks for watching.